Earlier this month, the Horror Game Awards held their Midsummer Night's Scream showcase, and a bunch of cool games' little green demo buttons showed up in my peripheral vision. Lucky 13 is the number of demos we're going to talk about today, and as per usual, I've split them up into 4 categories. Yes, please. On the fence, aka maybe later. Not for me, but maybe for you. And no thanks. BLOK. First off, you get points for being a silly little troll. Oh man, this was the first game when I was recording that didn't freak out my computer or have some other weird technical issue upon startup. Babushka bonus points. These textures are glorious. I tend to like the real looking faces stretched over low poly style, and BLOK uses these to their full uncanny potential. The setting is very well established. We are in post-communist Poland, playing as someone who had actually fled during that regime, drawn back home by a letter from our mother. The voice acting here is solid, at least to me, as someone who does not speak Polish. I was actually unsettled and on edge while playing this one. People try all the time to evoke that sense of utter dread that the old Silent Hill games gave us. This demo actually does that without trying to be Silent Hill. There were these interesting bits where you're following someone and they mirror your movements, so it's like a puzzle to navigate them through the space, but you're also trying to get yourself through. Now, I did finally have to call it after a chase sequence that I succeeded at after a couple of tries, but right at the end, it kept me outside the door. Like, I couldn't get in, and the door shut. It just wouldn't let me slip in, so I got smacked, and I failed it. Kind of a bummer note to close out on, but I'm fairly sold on the premise overall. INFERIUS. I had totally forgotten this was actually a card game when I loaded it up. I saw it listed in the Women-Led Games showcase alongside the horror one. I initially felt some pings of 2010s era games like Medusa's Labyrinth. Don't know if any of y'all remember that one. But then this card stuff started, and I got real excited to see the tarot art. Kind of appreciated that they didn't over-explain that part. You can suss out pretty quickly how to get rolling. I played against 3 opponents before I called it, and my only real disappointment was that I felt like I was winning because these goobers refused to sacrifice cards to protect themselves. Curious to see what the balance is like when your opponents get smarter and tougher. Between the various opponents, you use your lantern to activate platforms, open doors, and generally explore the environment, trying to make your way forward/out of this limbo space. There are enemies that can come at you, and you'll need to juke to get around, but the demo is very forgiving. Reloading in after getting got drops you basically right where you were without having to redo anything. One time it was so forgiving, the thing hadn't left the immediate area and I got caught again immediately. Luckily, it didn't keep chaining and we got back on our way. T.W.I.R.L. Now, this is one of the games that I found through a different event, the Latin American Games Showcase. Reveal trigger warnings is a great way to let your audience opt in to being informed. I'm going to do the same thing. Incoming potential spoiler warning. You can scrub forward to the time on your screen or use the chapters to skip over this bit. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers incoming. Movement is very slow, but the distance that must be traveled is short enough and things change enough each time you have to walk it that it doesn't become too frustrating. I mostly just got anxious to see what was next.
Gibby.
Oh, the PS3 screen, let's go! I did get soft locked on the PS3 night. I backed up to check something and the door shut on me, thinking I was already in the room and it was triggered to close behind me, I guess. Which meant I couldn't progress, but the demo has well-placed autosaves, so I was able to continue from that night that I did the whoopsie daisy and keep going.
Gibby. Pet Gibby button.
I appreciated what I experienced in the demo. It let the small things speak for themselves. The parts that were more heavy-handed, if you will, were the parts that are likely to feel heaviest to those who have similar lived experiences. It should feel heavy. I'm curious to see how this expands into the full game. The devs have said it's expected to be about an hour long, which honestly sounds like a perfect length for this sort of short horror experience. Witchlight Woods. You must enter the woods inhabited by the Thousand Eyes Witch and find the flower that will save your sister. Sometimes it's actually harder for me to review something I enjoyed. I just kind of want to flail my arms going, look at it! Look at these creatures!
What a feast for the senses!
The art is gorgeous, the music is lovely, and the writing is a thumbs up from me. This is a choose-your-own-adventure style visual novel where unlocking and ending, even in the demo, this is a small standalone story, by the way, will unlock new dialogue and events, encouraging you to replay and try different things. I got 2 endings during my session, one bad and one good, if you will. If you like woodsy, witchy things, if you like visual novels, if you like pretty art, you may find something here for you. Nothing but nice things to say about this one. I eagerly await a release date announcement in the future. Perceptum. This is technically a playtest, though for some reason I assumed that this was an updated version from what I'd seen previously. It's not. Also, there's no feedback form connected to the playtest. The test where you get data from players. Okay. The dev has responded in forums saying that they didn't expect so many players and now they need to focus on the experience or something. Yeah, I'd agree that that's what the playtest is for. Even demos sometimes have official feedback forums and they don't rely on forum comments. Like, I appreciate the dev is going on the forums and listening to people, but not everyone wants to broadcast their thoughts about a game to anyone other than the dev. I saw some tech complaints, and I do have to echo them a bit. VSync doesn't actually appear to work very well currently, even with the graphics turned down a notch, which is unfortunate. I think OBS smoothed it all out in recording at least. It's a neat proof of concept, and that's all this is, a proof of concept. It managed to evoke some PT-esque vibes without a looping hallway, so thumbs up for that. I could have bumped this down into like, maybe not for me, but it is for me. I really like this proof of concept. Cross fingers, it'll all come together. This is not the dev's first game, though first horror game maybe? So I know they can deliver a finished product. The pocket mirror mechanic is great. It's unique, and I really hope to eventually get to play a fully realized version of it. Silver Pines. The TLDR for this one is I expected to say hell yeah, and at best it's an maybe.
I know, you're shocked, horrified. The Silent Hill / Twin Peaks goblin refuses such an offering? This demo that has such positive feedback and already seems beloved by a percentage of players?
Yeah, sorry. So first, a quick tech nitpick upon loading up the game. My unlimited frame rate pet peeve strikes again. And it's one of those games that if you turn off the unlimited frame rate, you have to play without VSync. VSync issues or no, I will never ever play a game on unlimited frame rate. Please do not start your game, even if it's just a demo, with this option on. Oh man, I haven't seen one of those punch tape style fonts in a hot minute. I will say, bless games that let you change difficulties in the middle of it. How am I supposed to know how tough is tough until I start playing? Great art direction. There's a reason eyeballs have already been peering in this game's direction. A few default mouse and keyboard keybind choices are interesting. Not difficult to manage, just odd. Attaching photos to the map is a brilliant idea. I love it.
helps me keep track of what still needs to be done. Where did I see that thing? What screen was it?
Nice audio, creepy atmosphere, solid enough voice acting, bit of a Silent Hill 2 nod here, bit of a David Lynch feel there.
Initially, I was feeling it, as they say.
Tried and true private detective seeks mysterious person in a small town setup. So this next nitpick is going to sound ridiculous to some people, and that's fine. It's also not like the crux of the matter. It's just this one little thing that I couldn't get out of my head. Silver Pines. Why do I have to shoot a target shaped like a house cat to win the BB gun game when the other targets are all more obviously quote-unquote scary things? I sat there, confused, wondering where my last target was for several moments before I realized, oh, I wasn't supposed to avoid the cat and only shoot the scary things. Like, I think it's supposed to classify as a threat because the targets are essentially Halloween decorations and it's in a classic hissing pose. But wait, that doesn't make sense either because there's a growling bear in there. It was just such a weird choice. Side note, I also just couldn't tell when I was hitting which target. Like, I was like, I knew I was hitting something, but I didn't necessarily realize which one I was hitting. I guess I was worried that I was gonna hit it, and then I wasn't paying attention to what I was hitting. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Moving on. Speaking of targets, let's talk about combat. Dodging past or a hit-and-run style seems to be best, especially in melee. I'm not that interested in taking these things down. I just want to get by, and I think that's what I'm being encouraged to do. I was warned about limited resources. That aspect of it, I appreciate. I like that. Overall, though, I'm not a huge fan of how the combat works. I hate that I can't reload my gun unless I'm actively in combat. And by the way, is that really a thing? Please tell me in the comments if you could reload outside of combat, and I will chalk this one up to the usual Marley's cursed gaming shenanigans. I don't care for the skill checks that freeze anyway, so you can't fail, so they're not really skill checks. I assumed it was an accessibility thing, like, hey, if you can do this quickly, you'll have a leg up, but if you can't, don't worry, you won't be punished for it. I don't know, why is it there? I assume that this was a decision meant to create tension, but all I ended up feeling was distraction and frustration. I needed to be on it, quickly, go, but the skill checks felt like I was also, like, we're pumping the brakes at the same time that we're saying go fast, we're also saying slow down, pay attention to this. I already prefer melee and not fighting at all if I can help it, and the brief time I used the gun made me kinda hate it. Other folks may love this style of combat, based on the positive feedback I see the demo getting. Now, I absolutely should have bumped it down to easy briefly so I could test how vicious the damage was in comparison to normal, but around the time I was considering it, I was kinda done with the demo. I paused around when I got the doorknob for reference. I just couldn't see myself bothering to finish this demo on vibes alone. I'm still putting this game in my probably the on the fence section simply because of how much I want to like it, but it could very easily slip into the maybe it's not for me pile. Wasteland Bites. Now this game is already available if it strikes your fancy. It has dropped.
Look at those volume sliders, not maxed out.
There's plenty of things Tutorial Man has to tell you, and even more notes to peek at. But it didn't feel too horribly overwhelming since the note screen seems to pause the game and you can flip through to find your solution for that weird glowy guy that's approaching. The one suggestion I would make is that maybe it shouldn't be one thread per page, so I have fewer to flip through each time. The UFO was really persistent, by the way. Generally, any mistakes I made were my own fault, not the game's, and I stumbled through my tryout shift a-okay. Pay no attention to that number. If you enjoy this kind of simulator and always wanted to open a food truck in a quirky post-apocalyptic universe, you might have some fun with this. Iris Dissolution. So I have to start this one by admitting I didn't entirely know what was going on. We seem to be trapped in some sort of tower or castle where strange things are happening. When I loaded this demo up, the volume was blasting. And then I go in to change it, and it became super quiet and kind of stayed that way. When turning the different options on and off, like say rumble, the square lights up or darkens instead of doing like a check or an X. Not the clearest indication, honestly. How do I articulate this? It looks like a box waiting to be filled. And then you click on it and you're like, oh no, that's the empty box. Oh, okay. Tank controls felt weird and drifty. Like, I never really felt like I was actually running in the direction. Like, I didn't think my character was actually, I kept having to like correct the direction she was facing very minutely. I gave up on using the D-pad on my controller and figured I'd use the stick if we were gonna be so loose with it. I also tried mouse and keyboard briefly and it felt just as floaty and weird. These guys take a box of bullets each, and boy are they not satisfying to fight. There's not a lot of feedback that you're getting. I hate the way that she comes to a full stop if she gets hit. But there's not really any other reaction. There's no wincing or flinching or going, oh no, she's just stopping. And you have to like wait a moment where you can start running away again. It's weird. The game also keeps grabbing my cursor back to the center of the screen and showing it anytime something happened, including and especially note grabs. Very unclear which dialogue boxes wanted me to progress the talking and which were doing it on their own time. Maybe it was just a coincidence and I wasn't actually progressing and I just happened to hit the button at the same time. I stopped when I got to the bell puzzle. I went in all the rooms and I thought I had sussed out, which, pictures were supposed to go together. I thought I was supposed to match the images. So the little thing on the heart, put the dial on the heart and ring the bell with the fist. But I couldn't suss out how to get the bells to actually ring. Was I supposed to shoot them? It's probably something simple like, hey Marley, you missed this really obvious lever, but I wasn't particularly grabbed by the demo by that point, so while it wasn't, bad by any means, I just turned it off. I do think there's potential here, but I think it needs more time to cook for sure. P.S. Yes, I do love that there's literally an eye, an iris, if you will, on our protagonist here. Very good. The Road of Dust and Sorrow. Heads up that I found this game through the Future Games Show event on Steam. First off, I love the environmental pixel art and the animations. I don't like the people sprites at all. I don't know what it is exactly, and it's purely personal preference. I took one look and bounced off immediately.
But the environments though!
So I played the demo anyway. We immediately pull what's called an in medias res, so in the middle of things, which I have mixed feelings about. On one hand, it could be exciting to see things play out with a bit of secret knowledge of the future. The scene that we're starting with, it's kind of unclear how much info it's giving away necessarily. On the other hand, it could kind of mess with things depending on how much of the story is actually packed into these 5 days. I know so-and-so will live and so-and-so will die, so I'm not gonna worry about this thing even though they tell me to. Totally depends on how it plays out. We are tough, sad, ? Mom, appreciate that. We've had enough tough, sad dads in games to last a lifetime. Seems like the setup might actually be some kind of drug addiction meets suspicious crop production thing that took over the world and eventually consumed any population not already on the, and I quote, fairy dust. I much preferred the melee combat for the whole 2 seconds that it lasted, and honestly, I didn't notice when my bat broke. That's probably on me, but bringing it up just in case anyone else had a similar thing happen and they were very sad. I hated the gun. Speaking of my bat disappearing, there's way too many enemies. It kind of took all attention away after a bit when I knew that the answer was yes, there will be, and there will be a whole bunch. It just wasn't terribly satisfying taking them down with the gun. Kicking is purely for pushback, as far as I could tell, though it may soften them up a bit if you hit them enough times. It felt very hit or miss, even when I managed to get headshots off. Autosaves seem based on getting important items or opening certain doors, which is sound in theory, but I don't love it being the only way to save one's progress. When I finally hit a game over screen, I just noped out because even though there wasn't a whole lot I needed to redo, it involved combat and I was done. I definitely prefer to see a combo of auto and manual saves in a game like this, even in a demo version. There was a point where I went back to the RV to see if I could save inside somewhere, and I didn't find anything. Be crowned. Okay, so I've done a little bit of this already during the video, but I'm gonna go full just reading out my notes with clips for this one. We start out, missing girlfriend? Wife? Unclear. Wine and vice? Scandalous. That black dress isn't her style, eh? Oh, we want to be Silent Hill. Amusement park on the lake and all that? A kid? Oh no, are they dead? Smaldings? Is that just Captain Smalding but purple right there? You can't just... This is Maki. Even a radio, but we don't pick it up. Just a version of the mannequin scene from Silent Hill 2, combined with the mannequin scene from Silent Hill 3. Alan Falls? Wait, is the demo over? Oh no, it's just giving us the trailer shot early. Treasure chests are kinda odd, I won't lie. Are they placeholders? Totally fine if they are. Oh look, someone's ringing a bell in a church like in Silent Hill 1. Radio is neat actually. I guess maybe this is how we'll get our exposition instead of notes. No! Wait. There's still notes. Dracula. Is that you? Wanna see where I checked out? I was swinging, but it wasn't taking my inputs, and all I can think is that it thought I was trying to interact with the chest that was behind me because it flew open right at the end there? I don't know. Look, I could appreciate the Silent Hill stuff, assuming it's meant to be an homage, but I really need to get a sense of your game's identity, especially when you're pointing and nudging me every other minute going, you recognize that, eh? You see what we're doing here, eh? You get it? The few times that I thought that this game's true self was shining through, I liked what I saw and it felt too rare. Like, what the fuck is this? It's so weird and I love it. I also wanted to note that I thought the tape fast-forwarding / changing thing was a pretty alright way to jump ahead in the story and try to give us a taste beyond the very start of the game. I thought that was a smart move. Eternal Haunt. I want to like this one. Stay warm, find your friend, go through the creepy house, solve puzzles. Simple premise, could be fun. Boy howdy was the gamepad unresponsive, so I switched back to mouse and keyboard. No biggie, I'd probably prefer that in this kind of game anyway, but it's still a stuttery mess and less responsive than I'd like. The mouse sensitivity starts quite high by default, and yet turning your head at an average speed can be too much for the game to handle. I did turn down the graphic settings too, by the way, but no dice. Ended up giving the demo a pretty quick look in the end. Maybe I should have suspected trouble when I saw the demo's file size. I've unfortunately noticed that 4 out of 5 times a big demo file size tends to mean lack of optimization, not girth of content. It reaches. It's a reach to say I played this one. This game got put in the nah section the moment I started it up. I cannot stand when a game fucks with my resolution and won't play nice with other applications, say OBS being open and recording. Usually what's happening is it sees I have a second monitor and is trying to auto stretch across them and just not being successful at it because that's not really how the monitors are set up. And usually fixing the resolution in the settings negates the issue and suddenly we're all playing nice together. Not the case with It Reaches. I could not see what anything looked like while recording. All of this footage that you're seeing, whether it's good or bad, I had no visual on the entire couple of minutes that I bothered to play. I was not going to take too much of my time to troubleshoot this when it shouldn't be an issue in the first place. I'll give you my feelings on the bit I saw real quick. What is this floating cursor? Oh, it's things I can interact with lighting up before I should be able to see that. I turned my resolution down. What the hell is this microscopic font? Oh god, what is this FOV? The head bob? The screen tearing never stopped. Every second, I got out of my cage and I noped out immediately. I don't want to see what else this game has to offer, as I'm pretty sure it'll give me a migraine and make me irrationally annoyed. Wilderdark. I see your work in progress, not indicative of final product message, Wilderdark. I would certainly hope not. Uh-oh! Marley sounds pissy again. Okay, so first off, there are 3 different settings for the frame rate, which is cool, I guess, except by default, they're all set to unlimited. Devs, please stop trying to blow up our computers. Your graphics mean nothing to me if the game crashes before I can even choose my preferred frame rate. Holy balls. Subtitles is a blank tab? Big question mark there. Load in. Holy hell, screen tearing. Turn things all the way down to medium. Still tearing, so I give up on that. Luckily, the recording seems pretty smooth, so it won't give y'all a headache. Touch the tent. What key even is that? Oh, is that an F? Guess what? Again, in my recording, I can see the F just fine. It's super clear. In the moment, I wish I'd taken a screenshot. I had to recreate it. It looked more like this. Oh, the hint won't go away, even though it's something I can't even do yet. Okay. Hide in the tall grass. What tall grass? Surely not this. Oh, you mean the foliage over here? Yeah, that's not grass. It's not even a semantics thing. You could say plants. Yes, I am going to be this petty. Side note, I do actually love the very PS2 era font choices in the UI and can appreciate how it complements the overly cool tone palette of the game. That same palette's gonna get real tiring though. I'm not sure if it's the right choice for a photography-focused adventure. Oh hey, I found one of those discs it told me to get. Guess it wasn't the right disc. No wait, it says "an" though, which in this context means to find any of them. Maybe it just doesn't check things off? Oh no, it actually does. That was the coolest moment I got in the demo, by the way. The moment where I had hope for a second because it was pretty darn cool. Soon after, I meet another raptor, and I get slashed. I eat the healing berries, they don't really seem to do much. I run from one dino, throw a sleepy time pod, only to back up into another dino and die. Didn't really feel like trying again. Thanks, but no thanks. If the point of this game is to sneak around and take photos of dinos, I'm all for it. I love stealth, I love dinosaurs. This demo just isn't selling me on it yet. It is difficult to know what you're seeing. There is a scan option, there's a scan button. It never seemed to pick anything up. I couldn't figure out if I was doing it wrong or if it was busted or what. I know I sound pretty rough on this one, but what I'm about to say isn't only directed at Wilderdark, it's more of a general plea to devs at large. Number 1, if possible, learn to better optimize your game, even if it's just the demo. Number 2, words mean things and will affect the user experience. Make sure you're using the appropriate ones. And that's all 13 demos that landed on my hard drive this time around. Feel free to voice your own opinions in the comments. Maybe there was something I loved that you didn't mesh with, or something I knocked that you loved. Or maybe there's a demo I missed from Midsummer Night's Scream that you think I would enjoy. Thank you all for watching. Your eyeballs and earballs are much appreciated on this spankin' new channel. Please take a moment to like the video if you liked it, share it with a friend, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. The YouTube spiel is ever present because it really does make a difference. Next Fest is already here as I'm finishing this script, so expect more mini reviews soon. Cross fingers, I'll have an essay out in a couple weeks as well, but I can't promise exact timing as I'm still stuck in the research stages at the moment. You can find me over on Blue Sky, and my gaming playthroughs channel is here. Thank you again, and as the great Isaac Clarke once said,
I'll stick around. I'm full of bad ideas.